was at home. So I don't do mornings. So Saturday at noon, I'm still in the bed. Looked at the phone and see things popping up on timelines and such. Stuff just doesn't look right, but you don't have a story. You just have, like, you know, this body laying out, which obviously, I mean, I know that that's wrong, but I don't know where it is. I don't know who it is. Like, can I even physically get to this place where this is? And unfortunately, we are living in a climate where this is all too frequent, right? So I don't know where this is at this point. So I didn't go into the street until Sunday. Saturday I was just kind of like reading and talking to people and like trying to figure out exactly what happened. So Sunday, we talked about the church thing, right? So Sunday, August 10th, I went to church. That's probably actually the last time I've been to church since this happened. I went to church Sunday morning and I left church and I went and sat in the street in front of the Ferguson Police Department with Tiff and a bunch of other people that, you know, some people, St. Louis is small. If you move, you know, if you like music, if you like art, if you like, you know, those circles overlap. So I've seen those people before. Some of them I knew, some of them I didn't. That really was not important at the time. So I sat in my church dress in the middle of the street in front of the Ferguson Police Department. Not really sure what exactly I was supposed to do, which is knowing that like I couldn't be inside. We got to do something, right? So I mean, growing up here and knowing what it is, like you don't really need all of that information that people are looking for. You know that they murdered somebody. You know that it was a child. You know that he was unarmed. You know that his skin looks like mine. He was left there for 4.5 hours, which is just ridiculously reminiscent of a body hanging from a tree. Like, this is a modern day lynching. You have 3-year-olds in this complex. I mean, we're talking about an apartment complex, so it's not a lot of space. Like, you know, you have 3-year-olds that have run out and seen this body like laying in the street. Like that doesn't happen. So I don't really need all of the details of he jumped in the car and he did this and this and that. Like, y'all left this boy's body in the street for 4.5 hours. You didn't call an ambulance. You didn't check his pulse. You didn't allow anyone there to check his pulse or perform CPR. You didn't take his body away in an ambulance. Like, that right there is really all I need to know. That just solidifies actually what I already knew. That y'all are on some bullshit. Like, you murdered a kid. And really, my church dress and my body are like the least that I can put on the line if that's gonna stop this from happening again. Like, I need another church dress. Yeah, so Justin called and was like, hey, like, we're going to Geneva to testify in front of the UN. Like, yeah, let's do it. Like, we've exhausted all of our, we've talked to everybody here on this side of the Atlantic. We've talked to everybody here that we can talk to. Like, locally, state, federal, you've all been completely irresponsible in the handling of this. So I don't have anything to say to anybody else over here. Like, what are you gonna do that you've not already had the opportunity to do? So at this point, like, yeah, let's go to the UN. Sounds like a fantastic idea to me, because globally, this needs to be addressed as the issue that it really is globally. Like, people globally have this idea of America, this like land of the free, home of the brave, like everybody's treated equal. It's this great place. If there's pandemonium in your home country, you do whatever you need to do or can do to get yourself to the States or your children to the States. So this perception that this is a place where you can run to and be safe, it's not really. So that to me needs to change. Like that perception needs to change. The United States government needs to be held accountable for the inhumane treatment of citizens here. I mean, you can't run around policing the world, right, and telling people what they can and can't do with their citizens when meanwhile at home you condone and subsidize, you know, the same thing happening on your home soil with your very citizens. Like, how dare you? Like, you don't have the right to do that. So we're gonna let some people know, you know, what's really going on. Everybody I talked to in Geneva, from like cab drivers to delegates, are like, wait, what? In America? Every 28 to 36 hours, a person of color gets killed by law enforcement in America? Like, no, they have guns, right? They have guns and they're shooting at the public. Like, in America, like, this doesn't happen in America. Like, the American, like, I don't know who is the United States PR team, because they're like bomb. Like, they got people like thinking that this is like, we just running around in fields and like frolicking and like shit is sweet. And it's not. So really, to me, like, after I've talked to Chief Jackson, the chief of Ferguson police, who really, frankly, if you resign or if you don't, like, my life doesn't change one way or the other. Like, you're frankly too small a target. And I've talked to Dotson and Belmar, who are St. Louis city and county police chiefs, respectively. And we've sat in rooms with Jay Nixon, the governor of Missouri, and we've had several meetings with the Department of Justice, who, for all intents and purposes, is representing the President of the United States, so federal level. Like, I've talked to all of you. I don't have anything else to say. Like, you're not doing anything. You're not doing your job. Nobody is doing their job. So I'll go talk to these people and see if we can get some answers this way. So myself and some others represented the protesters. I don't really like the protesters, because like, who is that? Like, who do you feel like you were representing? I was representing people whose voices have been taken, people that look like me that don't get to speak. I'm not representing the protesters. There's not just one Mike Brown. I am representing my people. So yeah, my testimony spoke more to that, spoke more to the resistance that we were met with for taking to the streets and telling people in power that this is wrong, you fucked up, like, you've been fucking up, and like, it's gotta stop. Also, just trying to speak to, like, trying to get somebody again to do their job and speak to, like, the threat that is looming around this grand jury announcement. So before we left for Geneva, it was $200,000 that they had spent on their stockpile of Call of Duty-esque type weaponry that they can pull out on us. So just, I don't know, the other day, now the new article is like 300 grand. So you still cashing out with my tax dollars, like buying toys to use against citizens. Meanwhile, you made no provisions for anyone here to be safe. Like, you've relegated that duty to citizens, like the protesters. You've relegated the duty to keep people safe to us, to the non-paramilitary force, to the people that don't get paid, didn't take oaths to protect and serve. You've relegated those duties to us, and then meanwhile, you are using my tax money to hire marksmen and get chemical agents and stuff that shoots rubber bullets and to fire on me. Like, so my testimony spoke more to what transpired with protesters since August 9th, and then what they are gearing up to do again in the wake of this grand jury announcement. Like, anybody, somebody, do your job. I feel like everybody did their job, right? Their job as it's outlined to them. The delegates, in talking to people that attend those conferences and work with the UN and do that stuff, they said that the delegates don't generally talk to the U.S. government that way. I mean, like, let's call it what it is. Like the U.S. government pretty much bankrolls the UN. Like I don't even think that they've paid their UN dues like lately. Like so, you know, as always, people tiptoe around the U.S. government. So for the delegates to pose those questions to the U.S. government and to pose them, just not only pose them, but in the manner in which they did, it was like surreal. Like it was something like way powerful about like just hearing them asking the same things that you've been asking. Like somebody's gonna answer us. So that was dope. Like dope. They asked them questions like, why don't Black Americans enjoy the same liberties in the United States as other citizens? Like, nobody asks anyone specifically, especially U.S. government, about what is going on with Black Americans. Like, nobody asks that question. We're voiceless. So to hear one of the delegates, like, step to the U.S. government, like, answer me, my God, that was dope. So then the government did their job, I guess. In dancing, we danced. They didn't respond appropriately, or they didn't respond at all, which, I mean, now you can't say though that the question hasn't been asked. Now you can't pretend like you don't know that this is not like for real a serious issue because it's been posed. So now you do what you do and ignore and whatever, and I do what I do, stay in the streets and organize and try to get answers. So everybody, I guess, played their position.
Protecting, sir. Who are you protecting? Protecting, sir. What is it you're fighting for? Protecting, sir. Who are you protecting? When you aim to kill, when you aim to kill.